Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
So, here goes nothing. Be about 3 years ago. Still living at home with my parents. Girlfriend and I are outside, about to go on a walk. We see my creepy neighbor's lights are all on in his house, including the porches, front and back. All of his oddly placed outdoor spotlights are on, pointing out into the open field next to his house. Think to myself, that's an odd place for motion detector lights, but okay. Girlfriend and I go on our walk, have the dog, and we're just talking about random shit. We round the block and see that his lights are still on. Then we see him in his backyard acting frantic, digging through a box on his back porch. I stop and start watching. He then jumps into his huge work truck and plows off the 3-foot or so drop into the fields next to his house. He then drove his truck off onto a narrow biking trail, and he went out of sight behind a hill. We looked at each other and agreed. That was weird. He works for the city, so we assumed he may have been called out for something. Still didn't explain him driving off into the fields that had no city utility stuff at all. We go take the dog out back and decide to sit outside. Family is asleep, and we still wanted to talk before my girlfriend went home. About 30 minutes go by. He comes hauling ass back through the fields, parks his truck in his garage, which he very rarely does. Then about 15 more minutes go by. Hear a scream come from his house. Nothing else. Nope. 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 And that's the story of why my parents' neighbor is probably a serial killer. So many other weird things happened with that dude. But why didn't you call the police? We talked ourselves out of it and we assumed it was a loud TV or something else. I sort of regret it today. I talked to a cop a few days later. He was my instructor at school. And he told me there was nothing they could have done anyway, unless the person screamed again and they heard it.
Go on. What? He couldn't say someone heard a scream at his place and wanted to check on the guy to make sure he was okay, or some excuse like that? Maybe stake out or drive by his house a few times? Or even you guys could have tried that.
Well, like I said, they weren't just going to take my word for it, and they weren't going to stake out a house just because I asked them to. Oh gosh, where do I start? My dad and I got one of those, here are all the Minecraft YouTubers in the city brochures from an elderly man going door to door trying to raise awareness. We looked through it and started laughing because we knew people in it. Then we saw a guy in it with a different name, but who looked exactly like the neighbor. This was about 3 years before the screaming thing. He was listed as living in our city, but his location was unknown. He wasn't on the must-report every year list that we have here in Texas. He just had to remain an offender, but not report all his movements anymore. It may have been the neighbor, may not have been, but God's damn it, it looked like him. Then around that time, I was 16. He'd stand outside and watch my friends and me. We'd go work out in the field. It had a mile-long bike trail we'd hike or run. He'd watch us the whole time, which was creepy, but not too creepy since we, at the time, were basically friends with him. He'd never been anything but nice to us. Looking back, that does add to the weirdness, yes? He had 2 very odd-looking kids, about 6 years old, twins, stay with him for a few weeks. It was just very surreal. They were like the twins from The Shining, basically. And he seemed to treat them very oddly, almost like they were pets. I can't explain it. Oh, then the last weird thing I remember, and this was only a few months after the screaming thing, was seeing him in a class at the same place I was in the police academy. He was in a motorcycle licensing class in a room down the hall from us. My friends started telling me, hey, some guy in that room keeps staring at you. All he did was stare at me, and that went on until he finished his class. Even my instructor made a comment of, so what did you do to him?
6 years ago. At home with mom eating dinner. Brother is out with friends. Hear footsteps on the roof. What the fuck? Muffled voices outside. Mom gets up to investigate. Assumes it's brother and friends. Suddenly, the house is getting pelted with rocks. Look out the window. Rocks are flying at the house from nowhere. Mom freaks out. We run upstairs to my room. Sound of rocks falling sweeps over the house. Mom barricades my bedroom door shut, calls 911 on her cell phone. Crashing sound in the bathroom down the hall. Sound of someone climbing into the bathtub below the window. Mom tells police someone's in the house. I'm trying not to cry. Police are on their way. Sound of rocks still falling. Footsteps coming down the hall. Stop in front of the bedroom door. Low growling sound, then retreat down the hall. Rocks falling fade away. We wait like 4 minutes. Sirens outside. Sound of police entering downstairs. Police give Mom the agreed signal to open the door. We go look in the bathroom with the police. Window is broken but still locked. Hole too small for anyone to get in or even reach through, about 3 by 2 inches. Dirty, oversized boot print in the bottom of the tub, though. Police call brother to ask if he and friends did anything. Brother says he's 2 cities away at the mall with friends and their mom. Call the friend's mom. She confirms this. While we're waiting outside for police to finish the perimeter check, a rock falls from nowhere and hits one of the policemen in the shoulder. What the fuck happened to my house?
Be me. 1990s, 6 to 8 years old. Live in a heavily wooded mountain neighborhood in Washington. Neighbors are far and few between. Had a legit treehouse just inside the edge of the forest, still visible from the back of the house. Built 15 feet up some massive pines by my dad before he passed. Come inside for an afternoon snack. Mom is waiting at the back door. She grabs me clumsily, takes me to the living room away from the floor-to-ceiling windows at the back of the house. Says not to go in the kitchen or bedroom, the rooms with big windows facing the backyard. Watch some Nick Jr. Mom on the phone in the next room over. Tells me to grab my toothbrush and pajamas. Spending the night at Grandma's place in town. Sleep over at Grandma's. Pancakes for dinner, the usual. Mom says neighbors reported a bear in the area. Doesn't let me use the treehouse for months. 10 years later, remember that day. Ask Mom about it. She'd seen a man standing under the treehouse looking up. Have tears in my eyes like you do when you realize how close you came to something absolutely terrifying, even if it was ages ago. Have flashbacks. 10 years ago. Nighttime. I have my own twin bed next to my mom's in the only bedroom. Massive floor-to-ceiling windows cover one side of the room. Giant rectangles of darkness at night. No curtains or blinds to close because secluded forest house and no neighbors to peer in. Trying to fall asleep while Mom reads in bed. Can see our reflection in the glass by the light of her bedside lamp. Guard light goes on. Reflections replaced by the dimly lit backyard. Happens at least twice a night, nothing special. Often see deer or raccoons. Watch the moths circling the light until it fades away. Darkness again. Almost asleep. Startling noise. It's the cat having a hairball on the floor, all hunched over. Get up with the intent to put something under him to save the carpet. Not having a hairball. Hissing at the window, ears back, just staring. Mom sits up and the guard light comes back on in the same moment. Figure of a man, just visible at the edge of the weak guard light, facing us, just standing. Mom violently smashes the lamp to the ground so we're not illuminated. Guard light goes back off. Total darkness now. Have to feel our way around. Mom sounds like she's screaming but without voice, just a hiss. I'm crying. Leads me out of one dark room into the next. Not sure what to do. Just sit, wait, listen. Hear the backyard screen door creak open. Mom can't remember if the back door is locked. Out the front door running towards the van, parked way too far away at the top of our long, steep driveway. Everything's a blur and we seem to move surreally fast, like you do when you run in the dark. Drive to Grandma's, police called. They find the bedroom window smashed completely out. Fingerprints on the doorknobs, but never find out whose. Sell the house. Live in a cookie-cutter neighborhood with lots of neighbors.
Be a firefighter. Small city town. Spooky call on an abandoned farm. Random fire, must be lightning or something. Get there and the entire old silo and barn is in flames. We start putting it out best we can. The flames keep burning hotter and hotter and we are no longer making much of a difference. We let it burn and control it from spreading. After it burns out, we go in to investigate. There is a charred skeleton where the couch inside the barn house used to be, sitting in a perfect upright position with a shattered whiskey glass jammed into his hand. We eventually find the man who owns the property to identify the body. He says he checks the property once every few days, and he was there last night checking on the property and everything was all right. The time he gives us doesn't make sense because we were fighting the blaze and the fire had already engulfed the barn house and silo by then. An investigator comes in and asks him harder questions and about the body in the charred ashes of the living room. The man laughs at the questions and asks if he can leave. We cannot hold him, obviously. We have nothing against him. He drives off in an old red Chevy pickup back towards the abandoned property. Days later, coming through the farm, we find the charred body of a pickup, red paint remnants, and it was a Chevy, looking exactly like what the man was driving. We ask around the neighbors and they tell us the property has not had any visitors for at least the last decade. They say the old man who owned it died 8 to 9 years ago. I freak out and nothing makes sense. To this day, no one knows what happened, and we assume the man died on his couch and nobody knew about him till lightning struck his barn 9 years later and it burned. However, this doesn't explain the living man who we questioned and said he owns the property. We assume it was some crazy old dude or homeless person. I think it was a ghost.
Be me moving into a new apartment at 18. Get all the keys for it. Keep the mailbox key separate so we can check it when the car is elsewhere. Months later. The apartment can be creepy, and there are always loud bangs coming from inside the walls. We asked our neighbors and they said it's the heating, but it still gets a little much sometimes. Walked to work last week. I left my house keys in my room. Tell my roommate to leave the door unlocked so I can get in after work. Later, come home and get inside. Paranoid me checks the entire house for intruders since we left it unlocked. Feel better. Nobody inside. Scroll/X/. Not doing it for me. Decide to check the mail. It's just down the hall, so I don't bring the keys. No mail. Start walking back. Sudden terror in my head. No idea why I'm freaking out. Have this absolute awful gut feeling the door will be locked. Rush to the door and try it. It's fucking locked. It's a deadbolt and can only be locked from the inside or with the key. I start spazzing and call my roommate. He's on his way home. He gets here and tries the door too. I had gone outside in the meantime. Still locked, so he puts the key in. Unlocks just fine. We go in and check every inch of the house for somebody. Nobody in the house and the windows aren't messed with. All 3 have been locked the entire time.
Friend of mine has had a history of mental health issues, but in general, a really nice guy who has his shit together. There was a death at my school a while ago. For privacy reasons, I'm not going to say what happened or where. Basically, some foreign exchange student was having serious trouble coping and offed himself at school. Lots of people talking about it. Pretty big deal. My friend calls me a few days later. He has this really nasty chest cold and is going on about how he thinks that the dead kid infected him. Okay. Don't want to be an asshole. Say we can talk on the phone. My friend ignores me, says that he's coming over now. Try to protest, but he hangs up. He shows up super quick. I think he ran over. He goes on this long spiel about how he has a chest cold and that the dead kid infected him. What the hell? He says that he saw the death. I think that my friend might have PTSD from seeing it, might need to change his meds, and is attributing all of his problems to his chest cold. Friend says that he got some of the blood in his hair, and that's when he was infected. Tell him that he needs to talk to his family doctor and seek treatment. Call the school guidance counselor. He gets mad that I don't believe him and storms out. I'm pissed off because he said some really hurtful shit to me. Try not to think about him for a day. Feel bad. Remember that he's sick and probably having an episode. Try to call him. He doesn't answer. Text him. Doesn't answer. Message him online. Doesn't answer. Show up at his house. Ask his roommate if he's been home. He has. The stupid cunt was ignoring my calls for the past 3 days and I've been worried sick. Don't think about it for a while. Roommate calls me. Says that he's been acting really paranoid, having tremors, shaking hands, etc. Oh shit, maybe it's PTSD. Apparently, friend has been coughing up blood. What? Yeah, apparently he's been coughing up blood, having neurological problems, etc. Now I'm freaked out. Called the guidance counselor and asked if she could pull him out of class to talk to him. She said she would. I seriously doubt that. Keep trying to call him, keep getting ignored, walking to class, see him walking, approach him. What the fuck, man, I've been worried about you. Ignores me. I'm losing my fucking mind. People are looking at me funny and he's acting cool as a cucumber, which just makes me more mad, screaming at him. He tells me to stop acting like such a mother hen and that his business doesn't concern me. Whatever. I go to leave. Find out that he took his own life later that day by jumping in front of a car. I have really mixed feelings about everything. I think I did everything I could for the guy, but I still keep thinking I fucked up, like, should I have called his parents or something? I don't know. That's my /X/story.
I'll never forget these two experiences. The first one, maybe I was just seeing things. But the second one, I still can't really explain. I'm not even superstitious either. First experience, B10 or so, was always super creeped out by our house. Was always a fraidy cat, if you will, though, so nothing too out of the ordinary. One day, it's about 4 p.m., home alone, on the phone with Dad, looking at myself in the mirror in the other room, because fuck it, had nothing else to do while on the landline. Get off the phone with Dad. For some reason, I keep looking at myself in the mirror. Suddenly see a pitch-black, decrepit hand reach for my head. Jumped like crazy. Look next to me. Of course, nothing there. Couldn't calm down until my dad picked me up an hour later. Second experience. Not too long after the first experience. Still got goosebumps thinking of the first experience. Watching TV, trying to calm myself down. Tell myself, of course ghosts don't exist. That's stupid. I think aloud, so I'm saying all of this. Say with a cocky attitude, if ghosts were real, they could show me themselves by making the TV cut out, feeling proud of my ultimatum. I shit you not. No more than 2 seconds later, TV cuts in and out a couple of times. That was the only time our TV ever did anything like that. Immediately frozen with fear. Too embarrassed to tell my parents I was scared. Had frequent nightmares and always felt like I was being watched. Slowly, these experiences and feelings started to fade. Never had any negative experiences for the next 8 years I lived there. I actually kinda miss that house now.
Be me, 18. Playing around with my phone at like 2 a.m. Hear a voice in the living room. A man's voice. Must be my dad, I thought. Suddenly hear my parents' door open. Can distinguish it because it makes a popping sound when open. Hear my dad saying, "Who's there?" Silence. Silence for like 30 seconds. Hear the door closing. Nope.jpg. Curl up in a ball under the covers. Didn't sleep because I was too scared. This is why living in Mexico sucks. Everything wants to fucking possess you. Be me a few years ago in my mid-20s. Go to visit my grandmother with my father. My dad goes to sleep in the spare room. My grandmother in her room. And I sleep in the living room. Sneak out in the late night and smoke a joint and a cigarette. Come back inside, get cozy, and lay down. Close my eyes to go to sleep. Hear footsteps a few feet away from me on the old wood floor. Open my eyes quickly. The footsteps stop. Think to myself, I'm imagining shit. Close my eyes again. Immediately, footsteps start again. Now my heart is racing. I just sit there in the quiet with my eyes open until I eventually drift to sleep. The next morning, I forget about it and don't say anything. My grandmother says to my dad, "You know your father is still here." My grandfather. He says, "Oh?" She replies, "Yeah, sometimes when I walk through the living room, I feel a tug on the back of my shirt." I guess my grandfather always used to pull on the back of my grandmother's shirt to get her attention. Never tell anyone about the footsteps. That feeling when I never met my grandfather, but he may have been around that night.
Walking down Suburban Street with companion at 2 a.m. Just been to the supermarket to buy 2 a.m. supplies. It's pretty quiet and there's no traffic or lights on in any of the houses. No people on the street either. Unfortunately, companion is not particularly bright. I'm texting and not paying her any attention when she tugs on my sleeve. Anon, there's someone back there. I turn to establish whether or not this is truth or if she's bullshitting me. This is truth. About 100 meters down the road, there's a hell of a weird-looking figure loping across the street. Looks like an abnormally tall man. Pasty-skinned, funny-ass walk like he's drunk or limping or some shit. I stop walking and stare, trying to figure out what I'm looking at. Anon, do you see that? Yeah. Figure seems unaware of our presence. I cannot for the life of me make sense of what I'm seeing. It seems so low-key abnormal. It's fucking with my head. Slowly dawning realization that if this figure is a person, they are as naked as is possible for a person to be. What.jpg? Slow friend has the same realization 30 seconds later. Screams, "Oh my God, it's naked!" You fool, you've doomed us all. Naked man has stopped walking and is swaying strangely where he stands. Turns head toward us. Cannot see his face, but once again his body and stance are just subnormal enough to make me scared. Suddenly, naked man is running toward us. Start howling and grab companion. I've never run so fast in my life. In that moment, I was the wind beneath my feet. Naked man follows us a good 2 streets further. Continue running and dragging companion all the way home. Another 3 or so streets at least. Realize in the morning that I had literally just run screaming from a man who was too drunk to operate on the plane of normality. Also, he was naked. Shame.
Be me and my friend. Be like 10 or some shit. Go to the local game store to buy a pack of Pokemon cards, praying I get a Charizard. Speaking with the dude running the counter and looking at different packs we could buy. See some in Japanese. What the fuck? Old balding guy with big round glasses and mustache walks in. Be like in his 40s probably. Looks like some delivery guy with the super short shorts and boots and high socks. Dude buys a pack of Pokemon cards. Dude asks if we like Pokemon cards too. Dude starts bragging about his big collection. Dude tells me and my friend that we should meet him out back where his truck is parked so he could show us his collection and maybe do some trading. Me and my friend naively agree. Old dude leaves out the back door where he came in. Me and my friend kinda weirded out. Asian dude running the counter warns us that we should not go to trade with him. Says that we shouldn't be around people like him. Friend and I agree and leave out the front door. Walking fast down the street, wait for the light to cross. Walk past the convenience store, then the big hotel and a psychiatric center. Finally get off the main street and head into the first track of my neighborhood. Hear a motor, turn around, see a huge brown delivery truck turning onto the street and coming towards us. Friend and I look at each other like nope.jpg. Dude stops next to us and calls out to us. Asks us why we left without checking out his collection and trading some cards with him. Friend and I say we had to go home ASAP. Dude looks confused and a little annoyed. Turns his truck around and drives off. What the fuck?
This isn't very good, but it's the only thing I can think of just now. Live on a little island in Scotland called Bute. Scouting old abandoned houses for a horror film I am making with my friends for uni. Bring a Ouija board to try it out and have some fun. After messing about, it eventually gets dark. All my friends leave apart from myself and one called Ryan. I brought a whole bunch of cheap candles, like 100, and set up like 30 on a table upstairs where we were sitting. The house in general was pretty freaky, but upstairs had crawl spaces and large open windows. Could feel the wind softly. It's really dark now, pitch black outside, like 12 at night. We are close to some houses though, so there is some light coming from them outside. We begin to play it, just us two. I record it with my phone positioned on the table beside me. There are windows at either side of the room. Our table is against one overlooking the overgrown mess of a garden that we had to get through to get to the house. There is no quick way to get out. We are behind lots of fences meant to keep people out. We ask generic questions and laugh in the candlelight. We can hear the wind outside banging branches into the house. Do you control the wind? Show us what you can do, or maybe you don't exist. Something along those lines. Suddenly, wind blows in through the opposite side windows and blows out every candle. I go, holy shit, what the fuck? No way, and check my phone. We are just sitting there in the pitch black while I watch the video. It cuts off just before I said the thing about the wind. There is no way it could have cut off. It makes no sense. I didn't touch it. It didn't fall. We just get out and walk home. Still have the video and pictures somewhere on my computer, even though it was probably just a coincidence and lucky timing that the wind became strong only for that moment. I still don't know how my phone fucked up at the exact same time.
Be me. Be 23. Live in a suburban garden town's border next to the city. Move there with dad's family. Attend judo on the far end of the city because friends all live there. Get home late, no proper transport. Walking home on the main road after getting off the last bus. Notice some teenage girl in a hoodie sitting at a bus stop near home. Look at my cell. 2 a.m. No bus until 4:30. Pretty cold outside. She looks up as I get close. Blonde hair, blue eyes, cutie pie. Ask if she's waiting for the bus. Yes. Cute voice. Timetable vandalized and stolen as usual. Tell her there won't be a bus anywhere until 5 and ask where she's going. She says the capital. 3 hours on foot. Makes her sad. Invite her over to wait it out together. Modestly accepts. Chat on the way. Learn she's been at a sleepover, but there was some issue with her schizo grandpa and she'd rather left. Arrive. Open the door. Get on the floor. She looks at me weird, like, "Anon, you okay?" Get up and feel like an idiot. Everything is dark inside. Family already asleep. Explain the situation. Invite her in. Ask if she'd like tea or coffee. She says being inside is enough. To be honest, that's what I was thinking about her. Convince her to have some tea. Short on topics, so we silently sip along. Awkward. Ask if she needs to be somewhere on time. She says she doesn't have any errands. Offer to let her sleep over so she can get some rest. She tries to be modest. Ask if she'd like to take a shower at least to warm up a bit. Accepts. Go upstairs, give her towels. Go back to my room and look at posts. Hope she'd rather stay over and sleep with me. Notice there's no water running. Knock and ask if she's there. Open the door. The place is empty. Get paranoid. Take a knife I got from Dad. Stalk around the whole house looking. Doors locked. Keys in my pocket. Did I just hallucinate? Go down to the kitchen. Her used mug. Look again, every damn inch. Even in parents' bedrooms. House empty. Get no sleep that night. Pass out after sunrise.
Last month. Live in a semi-rural part of South Carolina. Live on a long road surrounded by patches of woods and houses. About a 10-minute walk down the road, I can get to a friend's house. Had a pal pick me up and bring me there on his way to my friend's. After everyone had gone to sleep at around 3 a.m., I decided I wanted to go home. Started walking down the road. No woods around this area, a bunch of trailers all around. Get about halfway to my house when I hit a dark spot surrounded by a big patch of woods on each side. I'm already a little spooked, but I try my best to harden the fuck up. Hear the spine-curdling noise of leaves being rustled around in the surrounding forest. Stop dead in my tracks and carefully listen and look around. Can't see jack shit, but I can hear faint crunching noises as if it's become aware of my alarmed state. At this point, my autism, or whatever the hell you want to call it, takes over all logical fear and reason. In my brain, I had concluded that some monster or person was intentionally trying to spook me, and that made me pissed. Start fucking spazzing out in the middle of the road. What the fuck do you think you're doing, you piece of shit? I swear to God, if I get my hands on you, I'll rip your asshole apart. Just start screaming incoherent babble at what the fuck was there. Suddenly gain composure. Listen for anything. Silence. Stand there in silence for I don't know how long. Continue on my way home extremely flustered and confused. When I leave the dark patch of woods, I actually see someone outside their house looking around with a flashlight. Sees me and just looks at me like I'm autistic. Go home. Nothing weird has happened since. Did I become the spook?
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more Greentext will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.